In this video, I'm going to discuss the timing of your wood floor project. You know that you have a problem, you know that you want to fix it, but when is the best time to schedule this and make it happen? And as we will reveal today in this video, it's not so much a question of when as a question of how. So let me provide a bit more context. A question that we're often asked in this industry is, do you guys refinish or install wood floors in winter? People think that because we're in the construction industry, that we are kind of similar to some of the other more seasonal trades. So, like if you're in concrete, for example, you don't often pour concrete after October here in Minnesota. Or if you mow lawns, you don't mow lawns in January. So similarly, they believe that once the snow starts falling, we stop installing or refinishing wood floors. And that's not really the case. And the reason for that is that the wood flooring installation and refinishing trade is considered a finishing trade. So similar to drywall and painting and trim carpentry, we come into a home after it's been built and fully enclosed. We then do our work to make it more attractive and livable and comfortable for the final homeowner. So as a result, we benefit in that we can work in an air-conditioned or a heated environment. So if it's hot and muggy outside, we can do the work. If it is cold and freezing outside, we can also do the work. We're not really bound by the weather in that regard. However, there are other environmental things to keep in consideration when it comes to timing. And that is because we are a finishing trade, what is most important in the end is the final appearance of the product. It needs to look absolutely amazing with no major defects. I mean, if you go into your home and you see that your floor is all messed up, you're not going to be happy with it, and you're going to want to have it done all over again. So it needs to look really, really good. And the only way for that to be possible is if we have a controlled environment. So wood flooring installation and refinishing has benefits of working, in an air-conditioned and heated space. But on the downside, it can only work in an air-conditioned and a heated space. So it needs to be a controlled environment. That is the number one major concern when it comes to that. So how controlled does it need to be? So first off, it needs to be an optimal environment. It can't be too hot. It can't be too cold. It can't be too dry. It can't be too humid. It needs to be just right. If it's not just right, then the wood that we use and the glues and the stains and the finishes, none of it will behave the way that it should, and it can really slow down or compromise the final result that you want. It needs to be just right in that space. So how do you know if your home is in an optimal state? It's pretty easy, actually. You can just sit down at your couch or in a chair and just see, am I really sweating a lot? Am I freezing to death? If you're sweating, you got to turn on the AC. If you are freezing, you got to turn on the heat. So if you are comfortable in that space, then the products will work well in that space too. So that is kind of the key thing to keep in mind. The second thing that needs to be controlled in the space is it needs to be stable. So you don't really need to have optimal conditions. They need to be stable for several days. Now, the average wood floor project can take somewhere between 3 to 5 days for an experienced crew. And sometimes larger, more complicated projects can take more than that, but generally 3 to 5 days. So for that 3 to 5 days, you need to have stable conditions in that space. So the temperature can't be bouncing around. The humidity levels can't be bouncing around. It needs to be controlled. So if you want to do a wood flooring project, you want to hire somebody to come in and do the work, you can't go out and turn off the furnace in the middle of the winter. You can't go out and turn off your air in the middle of summer and open up the windows. It needs to be stable throughout the course of the project. Another thing that needs to be controlled in this environment is foreign particles and substances. Once the floor is dry, the windows need to be shut. You don't want any kind of dust flying into the space to go out and get all over your nice finish and make it dirty and cluttered. You want it nice and smooth. That's only possible if the windows are closed. Similarly, Once the floor is sanded, you want to keep all foreign substances off that floor. Um, so the reason why this is important is that you don't want to get any kind of chemical overspray onto the floor. So these are things like soaps and waxes or degreasers if you're in a kitchen environment. You want to keep all of that away from the floor so it doesn't contaminate the space and prevent the stain or the finish from curing properly. Not even just these substances and chemicals, but even the sweat on the bottom of your feet, for example, that can go out and contaminate a stain and prevent that from looking the way it should in the final result. So you really want to keep all particles, all chemicals, all substances out of that space after a certain point in a wood floor finishing and installation project. The next thing you really got to control when it comes to a project is the timing. So you really can't go out and rush these projects. The wood, for example, if you're bringing it in for an installation, needs 3 to 5 days or 2 to 3 days really, to acclimate to that space so that its moisture level is kind of balanced out with the rest of that space, so the installation works properly. You really can't rush that. Similarly, when we go out and glue down a floor or glue down a patch, for example, that needs to be given time to dry and to expand so that it's behaving the way that it should. Or if you're putting down any kind of stains or coating the floor with a finish, that needs to be given time to dry and to cure so that the next stain will properly adhere to the previous stain below it. So you really cannot rush these projects. You can't do too much too quickly or you will compromise the floor. A way to go out and think about this is just in terms of trade-off. So wood floor really takes a lot of abuse, from walking on it, dropping things on it, putting furniture on it, and having the legs scrape the floor, having pet claws clatter over the floor. So to keep that floor safe, you need to have some really strong products on top of it to protect it. And as a result of having those strong products, they generally take a longer period of time to dry and to cure. So that's just kind of trade-off that you get. The more protection you get, the longer it takes. So with wood floors, it generally takes a few days for it to properly dry out and a few weeks even to properly cure, depending on the products that you pick. So you just can't rush it. So when it comes to really timing your project, it's not so much a question of whether or not it is summer. It's not a question of whether or not it is winter. It's really a question of when can you provide a 3 to 5 day window where the environment is absolutely controlled. When you're not going to be playing with a thermostat, you're going to be playing with the windows, keeping them open or shut. When you don't need to worry about folks kind of wandering in and out of the space, when can you provide that really controlled 3 to 5 day window to do the project? And if you can provide that window, it doesn't really matter time of the year that you do the work. And that's it for this video. I hope you found it very informative. If you have any questions or comments or any feedback you want to provide to us, please give us a call at 952-445-5162 or email us at support@duffyswoodfloors.com. Thank you and have a good day.